Michael Flynn pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI about his conversations with Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak. He also lied to Vice President Pence, who repeated Flynn's lies on national television. You've explained that this made Flynn susceptible to Russian blackmail. The Justice Department now says that the Flynn case should be dismissed because his lies were not material to a legitimate investigation. Do you agree? Why or why not?
Thank you, Senator Feinstein. Well, I would be hard-pressed to be able to think of an interview that would have been more material at this point of the counterintelligence investigation that the FBI was conducting to try to be able to get to the bottom of whether there were any individuals, U.S. citizens and those associated with the Trump campaign who were working with the Russians. So the materiality of this was squarely right on point. We had a national security advisor after the Russians had attempted to put a thumb on the scale on our election, who rather than when he spoke with the Russian ambassador telling him, stay out of our elections, keep your nose and your paws out of it, even if they want to reset going forward, but to rebuke him and to let him know that we will not tolerate their country trying to intervene and pick our president. Not only did he not do that, he was making nice with him. And then on top of that,
well,
you had the
could I stop you for a moment? The question was, are you saying that the Flynn case should be dismissed because the lies were not material to a legitimate investigation?
No, I think, Senator, they were absolutely material to a legitimate investigation.
All right.
And this
then
investigation was, I'm sorry.
Then I guess I'm not understanding what you're saying. Could you try once again?
Sure, I'll try it again. I was trying to lay out for you, Senator, what the situation was at the time that General Flynn was interviewed. And that was we had General Flynn engaging in discussions with the Russian ambassador that were essentially neutering the American sanctions. And that is a very curious thing to be doing, particularly when the Russians had been acting to benefit President Trump. And then he is covering it up. He's lying about it. So the agents understandably needed to understand what the relationship was here between General Flynn and the Russians, and to try to find out from him who else might have been involved in this. And had General Flynn been honest when the agents came to him, and had he admitted what he had said, then the agents would have found out what the Mueller investigation discovered later. And that is that General Flynn was not acting on his own. And these were not conversations that were just off the top of his head, but rather he had been coordinating all of this with his deputy national security advisor, who was at Mar-a-Lago with other transition team members. And it was a very deliberate, planned set of conversations with the Russian ambassador to essentially tell them, don't worry about it, things are going to change once we're in place.
Okay. When you testified to this committee on May 18th, 2017, you said that Michael Flynn's lies to Vice President Pence about his conversations with Russian Ambassador Kislyak made Flynn vulnerable to Russian blackmail. And, quote, to state the obvious, you do not want your national security advisor compromised by the Russians, end quote. You also said that Flynn's underlying conduct was problematic in and of itself, but you could not go further because it was classified. Transcripts of Flynn's calls with Ambassador Kislyak have now been declassified and released publicly. So why was Flynn's underlying conduct problematic?
Let's conduct problematic because he was, as I've mentioned, neutering the sanctions that were imposed by the Obama administration on a foreign adversary who was trying to intervene in our election. General Flynn recognized himself that these discussions were problematic. He admitted to the FBI agents later when he was cooperating with them, that he didn't even write down his conversations with the Russian ambassador when he sent a text back to Ms. McFarland, because he knew that those discussions would be viewed as interfering with the foreign policy of the Obama administration, and that would be a problem. That's also why he lied about it and covered it up. So if General Flynn didn't think he was doing anything problematic, then he wouldn't have had a need to cover it.
Is it possible that Flynn lied to the FBI about his calls with Kislyak to conceal the fact that the Trump administration did not plan to hold Russia accountable for interfering in the election?
That is certainly part of what the FBI needed to be talking to General Flynn about, was to find out why he had these discussions, who else was part of them, and what was behind it. But unfortunately, General Flynn was not truthful with them, so they weren't able to do that. That, again, goes to the materiality.
Inspector Horowitz confirmed that the Crossfire Hurricane investigation was opened at the end of July 2016, when the FBI was told by Australia, a trusted ally and intelligence partner, that the Trump campaign advisor, George Papadopoulos, had advance knowledge that Russia was planning to release stolen emails to harm Clinton and help Trump. The FBI learned this shortly after WikiLeaks released nearly 20,000 emails stolen by Russia from DNC computers. Wasn't there some obligation for the FBI to investigate, to learn what Russia was doing and who was involved?
Absolutely, Senator. It was really startling information. You know, the FBI, as part of the intel community, was already trying really hard to be able to get to the bottom of Russian interference and to address issues like attribution on the DNC hack. And then when they learned from the friendly foreign government that someone that affiliated with the Russians had actually approached a foreign policy advisor of the Trump campaign and had told him that the Russians had dirt on Hillary Clinton in the form of thousands of emails that could be released anonymously, and wanted to know if the campaign was interested in this. When they found out this information had come in May, and then it actually happened. The emails were then dumped by WikiLeaks in July. This was something that I think everyone would recognize that you have to get to the bottom of.
This May, the Justice Department moved to dismiss the case against Michael Flynn, who pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI. The lead prosecutor resigned from Flynn's, and District Court Judge Emmett Sullivan took the unusual step of appointing an outside lawyer, former Judge John Gleeson, to oppose the department's motion. According to Judge Gleeson, the Justice Department's effort to dismiss Flynn's case is highly irregular and, quote, a gross abuse of prosecutorial power, end quote, in order to, quote, benefit a political ally of President Trump. Do you agree that the department's motion to dismiss Flynn's case is highly irregular? If so, how?
It is highly irregular, Senator. You know, I was a prosecutor at the Department of Justice for almost 30 years, and I've certainly never seen a pleading like this. And as I think I've already discussed some with Senator Graham and with you, from my perspective, there's no issue with respect to the materiality here, nor to the government's ability to be able to prove falsity. Not only because you could look at the transcripts and see the black and white there in terms of it being false, but in fact, General Flynn had twice pled guilty and sworn that he was guilty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.